Hello, welcome to my channel where we discuss the MCC laws of cricket. My dog Ray and I are back here to start off these classes. Now we'll be discussing Law 16, the result. I think he's not very interested in the laws. We'll be discussing Law 16, the result. Now, the result and completed innings ought to be more or less read together. An innings which is a completed innings, more or less to be read together. The law, we all know that what a win is on runs when a side has scored more runs than its opponents who in their two completed innings. This is a win in a match of two innings aside. And then in a one innings match, of course, in that one innings that one team plays scores more runs than been made by the other side in its completed innings. Besides that, there is a provision about umpires awarding a match. Now, this is important because there is a procedure there, and all umpires should know that what comprises the refusal to play, because these are things which are discussed there. Now there are two parts to this umpires awarding a match. One is when one of the sides concedes the match, and then the umpire will award it on the basis of that having conceded. This generally happens in school cricket. I have seen that a side is so weak, it has conceded 1,000 runs, and then the next day the school team doesn't turn up to play, and they say we've conceded. Umpires who arrive at the ground the next day will award the match to the other side. The other part of this is more critical, and it requires some action on the part of the umpires. This law says that if the two umpires consider any action by any player or players which might constitute a refusal to play. It might constitute a refusal to play by either side. Then the two umpires will call time and take charge of the ball and go and investigate what is the reason for this. They will, after having gone into it, they decide that yes, there is this amounts to refusal to play. They will warn the captain of the erring side and tell him that in case this this conduct is persisted with, it will cause the umpires to award the match to the other side. Now there are two things that the captain can do. One is that stand by his players who are refusing to play, in which case the umpires their task is simpler. They only have to call off the game and record the result as a match awarded by the umpires to the other side. And the other is that he might come around and say that okay, we are not persisting with the action. In such a case, we will allow them to resume play. Now what happens is generally in this some time is lost in this investigation. Now this time is to be taken from the time you call time till the time you call play. There might be an intervening interval or an interruption once in a while. There can be. That is to be excluded, but otherwise the time is to be taken. Say 10 minutes are lost or 15 minutes of playing time are lost in this. Instructions to umpires is that we should add the playing time to that day's closing time. Added to that day's closing time, we'll be closing that for say 15 minutes later on that day. No overs will be deducted, and also suppose it is the last day, suppose this happens in the last hour, no deductions will be made in the number of overs. What you have actually done is you were given back the time, and you have only taken upwards the close of play. So the time is the same available. They resume from the same number of overs to be bowled. So that will make no difference there to them. There is no difference at all. This is regarding umpires awarding a match. Now, one thing I would advise all umpires, learning umpires, is that you should be very strong on procedure. Very, very clear about the procedure. Wherever you have the need to take action against an erring player or erring side for that matter, never be wrong on procedure. Never be wrong on procedure, because then otherwise it can be undone, and it will lead to trouble for the umpires concerned. So never be. We'll be discussing a lot of laws in the future where disciplinary procedures are to be initiated against a particular player. But then, why in the running up to that reporting and all that, you got to make sure that you are right on procedure. So here, the basic procedure is that you have to follow is warn the captain. Look, if you persist with this, this is what we can do, and then it is his funeral after all. Fine. Matches where there is an agreement under law 13(1)(2), where it is again reiterated here that in case it is a match, the game you are playing is under an agreement about the number of overs for each side or time duration for each innings, then the result will you will have to go to the same rules for ascertaining what the result will be. We were told there in the conclusion of the match that those rules must specify how a result is to be derived under these circumstances. When the overs are over, where the overs are finished, and we do not know. Those rules will tell us. Now, in all other matches, we have here a difference between a tie and a draw. Both a draw is a match where the last innings of the side remains unfinished. Scores are equal. Now we have two situations. In the one case, the scores are equal, but the last innings is a finished innings. Whereas that will be a tie. The last innings is a finished innings. The result will be a tie. But if the last innings is an incomplete innings, scores being equal, the result is going to be a draw. And also in the third edition of the 2022, an addition has been made that this we will look at it in law 42 as well, but there is a reference to it here which says that in case both the captains refuse to abide by the directions of the umpires to remove their players from the field of play. Say if one of the captains refuses, he will be liable to action. The law 42 says he will be liable to action under 16.3, and he is likely to forfeit the match. We will start up the procedure for awarding of match. Now when both captains refuse, the law now says that you will call off the match and you will record the match as a draw. Then after that, let the authorities responsible for the match decide what is to be done. But as far as we are concerned, we will record the match as a draw and go home. We won't continue the match in the face of such a refusal. That match has to be ended there. Now, winning hit or extras is something in the result law which should be properly studied. As soon as the result is reached, the match is at an end is a basic principle. As soon as the result is reached. Now, one of the conditions where a result is reached is that one side has scored a higher number has crossed the target score, so to say. And once the target score is crossed, what happens thereafter doesn't count. So if 2 runs are required and the ball is hit, and they have already run 3 before the ball crosses the boundary, 3 will count and the boundary will not count, because once 3 runs are scored, the match is at an end, and nothing that happens thereafter will count. That is the principle by which we are supposed to abide. Shall not be regarded as part of except shall not be regarded as part of the match, except there is one exception which you will readily understand, that where under law 41-17(2) penalty runs are awarded even after a result has been arrived at. We will discuss circumstances where such a situation this can happen, where the laws say, briefly let me tell you what this particular law says, that a penalty, an action which is liable to be given, to be punished by means of a 5-run penalty, the 5-run penalty must be given even if the match has been concluded. Even if the match has been concluded, we will discuss a couple of situations there, but that is the principle, and accordingly the statement of the result also will have a bearing on how the result is stated in these cases. We'll just come to it. And as a result of a mistake in scoring, now you finished a match and you go in, and there you finished a match, the side is all out here, and it has supposedly won or lost, and when you go in, the two umpires, the two scorers come to the umpires and tell them, look, this is how we see the score is not what we had shown on the scoreboard, and this is now the correct score. Now, if you cannot resume play, then you have to change the alter the result of the match. Then you have to alter the result of the match. Mistakes in scoring, we will just be discussing correctness of the result, and mistakes in scoring will come. This is only a brief statement. We will discuss that in detail, but this is only a brief statement which tells us that anything that happens after a result does not count, except awarding of penalty runs after the result, if the umpire so decide, and secondly, anything to do with a mistake in scoring, that will be the umpires can make that correction, and that their decision in that case is going to be final. Now, coming to statement of result, we all have been playing cricket, I am sure, and are familiar with how the result is stated. If the side batting last wins the match without losing all its wickets, the result shall be stated as a win by number of wickets. We all know that when the score is crossed, they have still 5 wickets standing when they cross the score, so they have won by 5 wickets. And if the team fielding won by number of wickets, then all lose all wickets. And a win by runs is the side fielding last wins the match, the result shall be stated as a win by runs. By how many runs were more to be made by the other side to win. So we are very familiar with that. I don't think that requires any explanation. And now what is interesting is here a win by penalty runs. Now the situation explained here is, if the innings of the side batting last has been completed. So side, suppose there is one innings match, side B has completed its innings without having scored a total number of runs in excess of the total scored by the opposing side, but as a result of an award of penalty runs, the total of its runs is insufficient to win, then sufficient to win, then the result shall be stated as a win by that side by penalty runs. Now the situation being that side B has been all out without making the score required. They needed to make 150. They fell short by about 3 runs, and everybody rejoiced there while going back, and a lot of high fives and all that. But then the two umpires conferred, and one possible reason is that they felt that the ball had been tampered with by the fielding side. They awarded 5 runs to the batting side, and because of that, if the result is changed to a win by the second side, the normal will not apply. So therefore they have to state that the win side B has won by penalty runs. That is how the result is going to be stated. Two things are obvious. Law 41 says that a penalty has always to be given even though the match has been completed, and even if a result has been achieved, whatever may be its effect, it might or might not result in a win by the side batting last, but that penalty has always got to be given is what that particular law says. That was law 41.17.2. 41.17.2 is the law which said that you have to give the penalty. Whatever be we are not concerned about the result. It may result in a win or it may not. It may just be an enhancement of the total. But go ahead and do it. And therefore, the statement of the result. Earlier, it used to be a win by runs and win by wickets. That is all it used to be. This is a new element for several years now. Has been added a win by penalty runs, which is very, very unusual, and it will after this it is given after the match is completed. That is how it works. A match conceded or awarded, of course, will be entered in the scorebook. These are the way a statement of the result in the score sheet or scorebook. These are the various ways in which a result of a match is recorded. Correctness of the result. Now, any decision as to the correctness of the scores shall be the responsibility of the umpires. Now, umpires are overall responsible for the correctness of the score. Actually the scorers are doing the scoring at the instructions and taking signals from the umpires. But overall responsibility lies with the two umpires. Now, what happens if there is a mistake in scoring? What is it is their responsibility, and their decision shall be final in this regard, which is stated in the rules to come. Now, mistakes in scoring. If after the players and umpires have left the field in the belief that the match has been concluded, they all believe that the match is over, one of the two sides has won, the umpires discover a mistake in scoring has occurred and the result of the match is affected, then subject to 1610 they shall adopt the following procedure. Okay, now let us look at the situation. One of the two sides has won, been declared a winner, they're much rejoicing, and the scorers then they tell us that look, umpires, they come to us, they say, look, we have both disagreed on the scores and we have discovered that there is a mistake and the result is thereby affected. Now, the procedure here is, if one side concedes the match, they say, okay, we don't want, there are 2 runs to make and a lot of time to go, and they were 8 wickets in hand, the opponent 2 runs to make, and another half an hour or more. They say no point in our going, we concede the match. That is one thing. But if that does not happen, then if either overs or time in the match remains, play can be resumed to achieve a proper result. Now, at one point we had seen what completes a match. We had seen in law only yesterday. We had seen conclusion of a match. One of the things where I had pointed out to you, I had said that this will be of significance later on. The match is concluded in cases where a result is not reached earlier, when as soon as both the minimum number of overs for the last hour are completed and the agreed time for close of play is reached. Now, using this particular law, this law has significance here in this situation. If either overs or time is remaining, you will come out and play. If either time or overs is remaining, one of the two has to be remain. If both are over, then that law says, very well says that the match is concluded. You cannot come back and play. But if either there was 1 over left to play, you had already reached time when you came off, you can come back and play. Or you finished the over, you went in 5 minutes early because the result was announced and we thought you closed 5 minutes early, then weather permitting, you can come back and play those 5 minutes. You may not stipulate so many number of overs. When you come back, if both are remaining, then there is no question, you will resume from that particular point. You bowled 17, 3 more overs to bowl and 10 minutes of play remaining. So you will go on the same basis there. as if nothing had happened. You are returning the game to the its original situation at the time everybody left. But going by this principle, which is stated in 12.9.1.2, a match is not taken to be completed concluded, provided if either the overs or the time is left. Right? So this is what happens. Let me read it out. Either the number of overs to be bowled in the last hour or in the innings limited by overs has not been completed, or the agreed time for close of play or for the end of the limited by time has not been reached. So they are including both in this, but let us look at a normal match where there is no agreement as to time or overs. We are not concerned really with this right now, but the idea is you have to understand if one of the two elements remain balanced, you have to come back and play and take this match forward to a proper conclusion. That is what the umpires are supposed to do. And finally, no account shall be taken of the time between that moment and the resumption of play. Whatever time is lost, there will be no account taken of that. When you come out, you will be coming out of the same situation as when you left the field. Now, if the result is not achieved, reached sooner, then naturally you have to play out both time and overs. You have to both play out both the time and overs. Whatever has been the overs have to be completed, and time for close of play has been reached. What you would have normally done, you will go on playing till both overs and time is completed. This is what you are required to do. Now, what happens if at the call of time, the overs have been completed and no playing time remains, which I said, there will be no resumption. There is no scope for playing. Or the side batting last has completed his innings. The side batting last, the last man was out, and that is why we went in. They were much rejoicing. Now, when we find out, though it was stated that side A wins, they fell short. Side batting last fell short. They were all out. No batsman to play. How can they resume? So, if the side batting last has completed innings and there is a change in the result, a change in the scores, we find we can't resume to finish the match. There is no batsman to come in. Number 10 or 11 of this side can't come back alone. There have to be two people there. So, in that case, all the umpires can do is, in these circumstances, alter the result of the match and record it as a draw or whatever. Or if the result is that one run is whatever it is reduced or increased, they fell short by 1 run, then you increase 1 run, so you come to a tie. Or if that is not reached, it will be a draw. So you will change the result. You will merely change the result because there is no way you can come back and play. So these are the three circumstances where there will be no play. Play will take place, to reiterate, that if at overs, either overs or time is left as per the playing conditions or the timings given to you, and side batting last has not completed the innings, you will come and resume. But if you cannot do any of these things, all you can do is change the result of the match and inform both teams accordingly. Look, this is a mistake that has happened, and the result, once the umpires have agreed with the scorers, the correctness of the scores at the conclusion of the match, the result cannot thereafter be altered. So that is what I meant by this being final. Finally, their decision about this, the result is final. Now, there is one thing that I would like to reiterate, what we learnt in Law 2 and Law 3. Law 2 instructed umpires to always be clear in their communications with the scorers and keep them in the loop. Be clear in their communications through the means of signals. Always look for an acknowledgement. And not too so serious that they would not allow the game to proceed unless he gets a proper acknowledgement from the scorer sitting there, and there should be no laxity tolerated in this regard. And similar instructions we saw in Law 3, where the scorers were also told that you are supposed to individually acknowledge the signals received by the umpires, and both of the scorers should be working in tandem. If you've seen some good scorers working together in any game, they are always calling out to each other the number of runs scored for every ball. At the end of the over, they will cross tally with each other. One will call out, the other will confirm. That so they are moving in tandem. That is how it is to be done. And instructions are given to us also, to umpires also, that at every interval you will at least tally the number of runs, the number of wickets fallen, number of overs, all that you will tally. You can go a little beyond that. And if the scorers are available when you walk off the field of play, they are close by. I would locate my scorers quite close to the family pavilion if they are on the ground. But if they are on some bird's nest somewhere else in the stadium, there is no way you can do it. Then only walkie-talkie is only. You at least seek confirmation that you are in agreement. These are the instructions towards which I think we should, all serious umpires must follow. And because if there is an error in scoring, believe me, it can be lead to a big mess, and it is very, very difficult to sort it out if a mistake has occurred in scoring. It doesn't happen too often, but when it does, it is a massive problem. Now, I have had occasion to award a match in a game in quite an important game in Bombay cricket, and it was quite an interesting thing. And I am glad to be able to say that we followed the process and tried to give them every opportunity. The captain of the side persisted in his actions, and we were talking to them midfield, and they went away, and we told them we have no option but to award the match to the other side. And the other side, though at that time I told the other side should appeal, which was not really correct, but they did say how is that, and but we said yes, we award the match to you. Went back in, removed the bales from the top of the stumps, uprooted the stumps to signal. There were about 1,000 people watching that game. It was an important game. Uprooted the stumps to signal that the match was over, and we went back in and did the necessary scoring. But remember one thing, this an appeal is not required for awarding a match. The other side, neither that side does not, there is no need for it to appeal. Though the law says for all decisions, outs and all that, an appeal is required. Not so for this. On that note, let us finish on about this thing, our small session on Law 16, and we'll talk about Law 17, the over. We are going to know the business end of the game. We are starting up with the overs in our next session. Bye for now.